Hi everyone, welcome back to Sunflower Cottage Crochet. This is Sarah, and this tutorial is for another square for the Friendship Blanket Crochet-a-long. Almost couldn't get that out. This square is the Soul Square by Emma Wilkinson Designs. It's quite lovely, and it should be a pretty straightforward square, even though it looks kind of complicated. I'm going to go over some things for you really quick first. The first thing to note is that we will use 3 colors of any worsted weight yarn. Again, as I've mentioned many times, I'm using Caron Simply Soft in Valentine colors. So I have my 3 colors as cream, pink, and autumn red. I don't think you can get autumn red anymore. I think they discontinued that, and I think I'm on my last skein, so I'm kind of sad, but at least it's going to be in a blanket and I'll get to see it all the time. You're going to need a 5mm hook, and I have my Odyssey Peach in front of me, and she does give a gauge, which is 6 rows and 15 stitches. Double crochet stitches equals 4 inches. So if you're having trouble getting the 9 inches square, do check your gauge versus hers to see if you need to go up or down a hook size. And the skill level is an adventurous beginner. Okay, now the more important things. Pattern notes. It's worked in the round, so you're not going to turn your work. So it's done more like a traditional solid square granny, which I like. The pattern is written with standing stitches and color changes at the start of each round, but we're going to insert our hook into the corners to start, so that's going to make it much easier as well. So we're going to have a new starting point each time. You pick a different corner. You can keep going up in the same corner, but either way it's going to make it nice and easy. Standing stitches can be replaced with a starting chain, and color changes are optional, of course. But since you're going to be, if you're just going to follow the pattern as it's written, which I do recommend, I would go ahead and make your color changes. Besides, getting the color changes is part of the really pretty look of this particular square. So there is one more special stitch than the other. It's a puff stitch, and it's what we call our small bean puff stitch. You're going to yarn over, insert into the indicated stitch, and pull up a loop, and you're going to do that 3 times, and then you'll pull through all the loops. Okay, and so let me make sure that's how she does it though, because some people pull through 6 and then do a single crochet. Yep, she does pull through all 7 loops on the hook, and then that's that. So then we have a corner shell, which is 2 double crochet, chain 3, 2 double, a shell, which is 2 double, chain 1, 2 double, and a half double crochet V, which is half double, chain 1, half double, all worked in the same stitch. And the standing stitches, I went to her blog and looked up. There's some links in the pattern that can take you to how to do it, because I've never done that before, and I want to go ahead and give it a go as I am working this square, so I can show you guys how to do it. So to get started, we're going to need our lightest color. For me, that's cream. The foundation is basically just make a magic ring. So I'm going to lay the tail, and you don't need to have a super long one because it's going to get longer as you pull tight. I'm going to lay it across my index and middle fingers. I'm going to hold it in place. And then I'm going to wrap this yarn around the top of my fingers, and when I come back underneath, I'm going to cross over and make an X. Now I'm going to hold that in place and wrap behind the first wrap that I did. And I'm going to insert my hook under the first wrap and grab the second one and pull it under, and I twist as I come up, so I'm creating more secure loop. And then I fumble my fingers back out and put the yarn like I normally do to hold it, and then pinching here, I'm going to chain up 1 to secure. And then I'm going to turn my ring so it's facing me the proper way, which for me is the tail on the left. Okay, so that's the magic ring. Okay, and now we're going to get started for the actual first round. For round 1, we need to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then we're going to do 11 double crochets in the ring, and then we'll slip stitch to the 3rd chain, or the top of our chain 3, and that will count as a total of 12 double crochets. So I've already chained up 1 to secure, so I'm going to chain up 2 more times, and then I'm going to put 11 more double crochets into the magic ring. and 11. Okay, so now, remembering the pattern notes, we're going to fasten off at the end of each round to change colors each round. So here I'm going to pull tight and close my ring up, and then the instructions say to join with a slip stitch to the top of your chain 3, and that is round 1. So we're going to go ahead and fasten off this color. I just chain up 1 to do that, and then I'm going to snip. Get this yarn out of the way, and I will meet you back here for round 2. All right, for round 2, we're going to start with our middle color, or our second darkest color. For me, it's pink. And just something I wanted to note really quick, so you don't have to keep looking at the picture, is that your color changing is going to go light, medium, dark, light, medium, dark, light, medium, dark. So each time, now you know that's the color changing pattern. So we're going to start out with a standing single crochet and then chain 1 for round 2, and you can put it in any stitch you like. So you can put it where you joined, or you can pick a new spot. I recommend picking a new spot so you have a full stitch to work into. So the standing single is to yarn over once, and then insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook. So, all right, I've wrapped the yarn, and then I insert it into the stitch. And now I'm going to work a single crochet by doing that. So the key is you need to hold this tail down so that it gets trapped. And I'm actually going to work it underneath my next stitch, I think. Okay, you could also do what I've done in the past, which is to, there's a couple other ways. You can slip stitch join, chain 1, and then single crochet, or you could do what I call my standing single, which is to start out with a slip knot, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then do a single crochet. And this essentially was that, except there's no slip knot. So I guess it worked. All right. Then we're going to chain 1, as it says. All right, so we chained 1. Then we're going to single crochet, chain 1 in each stitch around. So I am going to trap this tail as I go. So single crochet, chain 1 in every stitch. Single crochet, chain 1, and that is effectively doubling our stitch count, just like we normally would do for this next round. Okay, single crochet, chain 1, and I'm still trapping this tail. Single crochet, chain 1, single, chain 1, single, chain 1. I probably could have trapped both tails, or all 3 tails, but, well, just the 2, but I wasn't thinking. I was so focused on getting that stitch right. Okay. So now I'm coming over to where my join was from the previous round. So you don't want to go into the loop that made the join, you want to go into the actual stitch. I mean, if you do go into that loop, I would make sure you don't also go into the stitch accidentally. And technically it's right here where this gap is. So you are skipping over the join up loop. It'll shore up, don't worry. All right, and then now I'm going into last one, and this time I am trapping a couple of tails. Okay, and now we're going to join to our first standing single crochet, our first stitch of the round with a slip stitch to join. And then we fasten off, because we're changing each round, remember. You don't have to, but you'll want to fasten off anyway, just because of how she has you start in a different stitch each time with a different type of stitch. So I recommend just doing it the way it's written. All right, so there is round 2. For round 3, we need to do another standing single and then chain 2. In any chain space is where you're going to start. So I'm just going to move over from where I fastened off, and this is the chain space right here. It is between this first standing single and the next single. So that's where I'm going to go. But first I need to wrap the hook, and I'm going to do it like she says because, you know, it worked. So I'm just going to do that. All right, and trying to hold everything awkwardly in place. This time I'm going to see if I can trap it down. There we go. Did you see that? I hope you saw that. Just rewind me. Okay, and then we chain 2. So we do our standing single, chain 2, or just join and do your single and then chain 2 in any chain space. And then we're going to single crochet, chain 2 in the next chain space. So now I'm not going to trap because we'll see it underneath. So I'm going to go to the next chain space, single, chain 2. And then we're going to do that in every stitch around. So I'm going to single, chain 2, single, chain 2 in each chain space. And the extra chain between now effectively grows this again in size and in stitch count. Whoop. Grabbed that trap yarn. Don't want to do that. So single, chain 2 in each chain 1 space. And let's see, I should have, that's where I fastened off. But I did do a chain 1, right? If I didn't, then I'm just going to go, this is how you can fudge it. If you forgot to do the chain 1, which it looks like I did, go underneath the join loop in this case. But if you did remember to chain 1, do your chain 1, or go under your chain 1. All right, and now I'm going to do it right this time and do a chain 2 and join to that standing single. This, yeah, you definitely want to make sure you do your chain ups from the previous round. If you would rather go back and fix it, go ahead and do it, and just pause me. Oh, Karen, Simply Soft. I know you guys must be laughing at me about this because every video. All right, so now we're going to fasten off and change back to our lightest color. For me, that's cream. And I will meet you back here for round 4. For round 4, it says to do a standing half double crochet, chain 1, and then half double crochet, chain 1. That's a lot to do. In any chain 2 space. So, all right. I'm just going to go from where I fastened off right over to the very next chain space. But first, to do the standing half double, we have to yarn over twice this time. So, let's see, how am I going to do this? 1, 2, okay. It's confusing when you've never done this stuff before. So obviously you're going to need to hold that in place with your finger, insert, yarn over, and pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3 very awkwardly done loops. Okay, I'm going to work that again so y'all can see it better, I hope. Or you could put a slip knot on, yarn over, insert. I think for her, just not having so many knots is the appeal. So I've effectively yarned over twice. Okay, and now I'm going to hold that down and hold my yarn like I normally do. Go into a chain 2 space and pull up a loop. So now I'm going to pinch like everything down to normal size and hold it, yarn over, and it's going to shrink that middle one like you wouldn't believe. But then you're going to pull through all 3 loops. Okay, if you still don't like that, you can just chain 2, or you can slip stitch join, work your favorite way of doing a standing half double. There really is no right or wrong answer. This is just how she does it. And again, I wanted to go ahead and work it so you guys could see how. So then we're going to chain 1 and then half double. And again, I'm working over that tail to hopefully secure that stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1. And that's what we do to get started. So now I'm going to put that tail aside because we're going to skip over this stitch. I already know that, and it will show through. So the next bit is to put a half double crochet V-stitch, chain 1 in the next chain space. So to do that, we need to do a half double, chain 1 and a half double, all in the same stitch. And then we chain 1 to jump to the next chain 2 space where we do another half double V. So half double, chain 1, half double, and then we chain 1 to jump, work our HDC V, chain 1, skip to the next space, work your V-stitch, chain 1, skip to the next space, work our V-stitch, and you're going to do that all the way around. I'm going to continue to work it on camera because it's pretty quick, pretty nice and easy, lemon squeezy. Sorry for the camera shake. It's attached to the table and I'm resting one arm on, and so as I move that arm, it moves everything. Okay. All right, so I'm going to fold this tail from the previous round to the back so that it is effectively trapped to the back. And I chain 1. Okay, so I'm going to continue to work my pattern. Here's my last chain space. Hooray, I managed to remember to do it that time. And don't forget to chain up 1 on that last bit, and then we're going to join to the top of our first half double. Or if you just did a chain 2 to the top of that, of the round. And there we go, it's looking quite pretty. So now I'm going to chain 1 and fasten off, and we're going to switch to our medium color, which for me is the very light pink. And that is round 4. For round 5, we're going to start with a chain 2, which will not count as a stitch, and then we're going to work a puff stitch and then 3 chains in any chain space of any half double V stitch from the previous round. So here's where I fastened off. We're going to start out between the V stitch here, so the chain 1 space between the 2 half doubles. So I'm going to insert my hook here, and I don't have a knot. I'm just going to slip the yarn on because we're chaining up 2, and then I'm going to pull through, and then pick up, and then I'm going to chain 2. Normally I actually will do a slip knot, but I'm trying to keep consistent with no knots at the beginning as her pattern seems to be written. So to work the puff stitch, we are going to yarn over, insert into the chain space, and pull up a loop. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, and pull up a loop. So we now have 7 loops on our hook. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 7, and then we chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? And now I'm going to stop trapping that because I know I'm going to skip over and it will show through. So we're going to skip the next chain space, and then we're going to put a puff stitch, chain 3 in the next one. So we're going to skip this one, and then here's the next one right between the 2 half doubles. So in each V stitch around, we're going to place a puff stitch. So I know I need to yarn over, insert into the chain space, and pull up a loop, and do that 2 more times. Yarn over, insert into the chain stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. 7 loops on the hook, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 7, and then chain 3. And we're going to skip this chain space and go to this next one. I'm going to yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and do that 2 more times for 7 loops, and then I'm going to pull through all 7 and chain 3. Oh, let's work another one. Yarn over, insert into, after you skip a chain space, and pull up a loop for 3 times and 7 loops. Yarn over, pull through all, chain 3. Skip this next chain space and go between the 2 half doubles again to yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and do that 2 more times. Yarn over, pull through all 7 loops, and chain 3. And you're just going to do that all the way around. I hope you can see that very well, that I'm going between these half doubles and not in the very big gap here. So I'm going to keep working mine, and when I get to the join up, I will meet you back there. Okay, I'm just about to work my last puff stitch. So I'll do that on camera with you, so you can see exactly that how I'm finishing up this round. Chain 3, don't forget to do that. I'm probably not going to let myself live that down. So I've tucked my tail from the previous round down to hopefully trap it, although it's going to be between the big gaps, so I could probably just pull it through anyway. So we don't go to the chain 2 space to join. We're going to go to the top of the puff stitch, which is here. So this is the chain 2. This is the top of the puff stitch. So I'm going to join to that because the chain 2 did not count as a stitch. Right? And then we're going to fasten off because we're going to change now to our darkest color for round 6. And that's round 5. For round 6, we need to start in any chain 3 space between the puffs. So I fastened off here. I'm just going to jump to this very next one. It says to do a standing double, then 3 doubles and a chain 1. So I worked the standing double off camera, and I don't like how it feels. She has a blog post. When you click the link in her PDF, it will take you to how to do it. You can always try it there. Because I really just don't like the way it feels or looks, I'm not going to do it. But I like to either start with a slip knot or just wrap. And I'll do my standing double crochet. So I'm just going to pull a loop through, and I'm holding that tail down there. So you can see I'm just going to pinch it down. You can do a chain 3 from here and then work 3 doubles if you want to. I'd slide it over a little. But I'm going to work my standing. So I've chained 1 to secure, and then I'm just going to do a double crochet. No fancy tricks, just literally insert, yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, and then work 2 off at a time. So it does make a kind of fat one, but this is your 2 loops at the top that you're going to join to later. All right, so I slid that over, and I need to work 3 more double crochets and then chain 1. So we have 4 doubles and a chain 1 in the very first chain 3 space there. Okay, or chain 3 and then 3 doubles and a chain 1, however you started it out. If you went to her blog and you gave her version of a standing double a try, I mean, good on you, because I just didn't like the way it looked. All right, so we're going to do that same thing in each around. So 4 double crochet, chain 1 in every chain 3 space around, so between all of the puff stitches. So I'm just going to work a double 4 times in this next chain space. After you get started, it is a nice simple round. Chain 1 to jump, and then work another 4 doubles in the next big space. Chain 1 and jump, another 4 doubles. And then chain 1 and jump. So this is what it's going to look like as you're working it. We started here, and If you wanted to keep it simple, you just chained up 3 and then worked 3 more doubles, chain 1, skip to this next big space, put 4 doubles, chain 1, the next space, 4 doubles, chain 1, the next space, 4 doubles, chain 1. So I'm going to keep doing that all the way around until I get to my last space, where I will meet you back here and show you how to finish her off. Okay, so I am at my last chain 3 space right before I fastened off, and I'm going to work my last 4 double crochets. And yeah, this thing is getting a little bit curly, or the center is puffing up, but I think as we start making corners and turning it into an official granny, it will stop doing that. All right, plus we block, so I'm gonna work my last 4 doubles in this last chain 3 space, and then I'm going to chain 1 because, yep, I'm not going to let myself leave that down, and I'm going to join to the top of my standing double, which again, this was the chain 1. Hope you can see that because I know yarn is dark, but these 2 loops here is the actual top of that standing double. If you did a chain 3, just slip stitch to the top of your chain 3. And then I'm going to chain 1 and fasten off, and then we're going to grab our lightest color. For me, that is cream. And I will meet you back here for round 7. For round 7, this is going to sound like a lot, but I'm just reading it here. Standing double crochet, 3 chains, 2 DC, 1 chain in any chain space. So we're putting a whole lot in the chain space. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. So I have fastened off here. I'm just going to jump to my next chain 1 space from below, and I'm going to work my version of the standing double. I'm just going to slide the yarn on the hook and pull through. So I now have a working loop, and you can chain 3 if you like, or you can work my standing double. So I'm going to chain 1, trap my tail there, and I'm going to yarn over and work a double crochet like normal. Okay, and then we're going to do another double crochet. So we're starting out right away with 2 doubles, or a chain 3 and a double, however you did it. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to put 2 doubles. According to her special stitch instructions, this is a corner shell. Okay, now I'm done trapping that yarn. I'm going to put it to the back and chain 1 per the instructions. Then we're going to do a shell, chain 1 in the next chain. So according to her instructions, once again, a shell is 2 doubles, chain 1, 2 doubles, all worked in the same stitch. She also has a diagram to kind of give you a nice visual too, which I love, love, love the diagrams. Okay, so in a shell in the next one, so that's 2 doubles, chain 1, 2 doubles. So it looks like a corner stitch, except that instead of having a chain 3, it just has the chain 1. Excuse me. So that does make it look different enough that you can tell. So if you're really confused, or if you would like to, just to make life easier for yourself, and this is a nice handy tip for those that are adventurous beginners or even intermediate, put a stitch marker here, a locking stitch marker, because a piece of yarn is probably not going to stay put. But this will help you mark that this is a corner. All right, so moving on, we need to work a chain 1 after we work our shell, and that jumps us across the 4 here. And then we're going to do this again because it says to do a shell and a chain 1 in the next chain space twice. So we did once, now we're going to do it again in the next chain space. So we're going to work another shell of 2 doubles, chain 1, 2 doubles, all in that chain space, and then chain 1 because we're going to jump across these 4 stitches. And then it says to work a corner shell after we chain 1, which was 2 doubles, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 2 more doubles in the same chain space. Okay, and if you're marking, go ahead and put a stitch marker here. Excuse me. And then we chain 1 to jump, and then we're going to work 2 more shells again. The repeat is to work a corner and then do 2 shells and then work a corner. So we're working in all the chain spaces. So we're making this circle now into a square, which should help this center sort of lay flat. So I chained up 1, I'm going to jump these 4, and I'm going to make another shell, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC, all in the same spot. And then we chain 1 to jump, and we do another shell, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC, all in the same spot. Chain 1 to jump, and now we're going to work another corner. That's 2 DC, chain 3, 2 DC, all in the same spot. And if I'm going too fast, just pause, take a breath, pause, work what you need to work, and then start again. Start the video again. All right, make sure you chain up 1 to jump, and then we're going to work a shell, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC in the same spot. Chain 1 to jump, work another shell, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC in the same spot. This yarn keeps catching on my cards. Chain 1, so we've now worked our 2 shells, so we have to work our last corner, 2 DC, chain 3, 2 DC in the same spot. 1, whoops, 2, 3, 1, 2. All right, chain 1, jump to the next chain space and work a shell, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC, all in the same spot. Chain 1 to jump, work your last shell in our last spot, which is right next to my join from the previous round. I'm going to try and trap that yarn, though it's going to be between a big gap, so you could just pull it through if it doesn't stay. So our last shell, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC, all in the same spot. It really wants to be part of that. Chain 1, and then we're going to join to our first double crochet of the round to our corner. And if you did a chain 3, it's the top of your chain 3. If you did the standing, whether it was mine or hers, just go to the top of that standing double, not the chain up or whatever, and do a slip stitch to join. And then we're going to fasten off and join with our next color, which is the medium. For me, that is pink. There are going to be so many ends to weave in. I need a magic wand for that, I swear. Okay, so here is the square so far. I'm going to shove that out of the way a bit. So you can see it's starting to form an actual square now. It's quite pretty and kind of lacy. And I'm now going to get ready for round 8. For round 8, we need to start out in any chain 3 space, so a corner. Just pick a corner, and hopefully you marked them so you can know right away, or if you can just tell because it's a bigger gap, right here's where we're going to go. So then we need to do a standing double and a double, and that's all we're going to do in that corner. And then we're going to do some back loop only doubles in each stitch. So to start out, we're just going to, you know, one thing at a time again. We're going to finish this corner off at the end, by the way. That's why we're only working a couple of stitches in it. it's still going to be a corner, but we're going to finish off in a corner. So again, I'm just going to insert my hook and grab my yarn and pull through. Grab my tail to hold it down and chain 1 to secure. That's the only reason I do the chain 1. And then I'm going to do a standing double. You can do a chain 3. You can do my standing double, your standing double, her standing double, whatever you prefer. Okay, and then we're going to do another double in that same spot. And now we're going to move on. Then we're going to back loop double in each stitch and chain to the next chain 3 space. So now we're making it a solid granny. So, whoops, back it up. So now we're going to work in each stitch across. So to make sure you don't miss this stitch's 2 loops, you might actually need to slide your work over, because sometimes when we work in a corner we mash this stitch's 2 loops and we don't want to skip those because it's still something we need to work. So the instructions say to put a double crochet in the back loop of each stitch and 1 in each chain space along the row until we get to another corner. So if you marked your corners, that should be easy for you to find as you're going along. You won't have to like really look hard for it. So I'm going to back loop only double right here into the very next double crochet from the previous round, and back loop double in the next, and then we're going to double in the chain space. You can put it in the chain if you prefer, or you can go around. Just make sure you don't miss this stitch here because it does get a little smashed when you go around the chain. Back loop double in the next stitch, back loop double in the next stitch, double in the chain space, back loop double in the next, back loop double in the next, double in the chain space, back loop double in the splitty yarn next, back loop double in the next, double around the chain space, back loop double in the next, back loop double in the next, double in the chain space, back loop double in the next, back loop double in the next. All right, so we have reached our chain 3 space, so we know we're going to be putting a corner in. So she says to put 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles in the chain 3 space. So we're going to do that. 2 double, chain 2, 2 doubles, all in that chain 3 space. And again, be careful because that does tend to smash these. So I kind of worked mine over. If you didn't, slide them over a bit so you can expose this loop to work into for your next half double, or double, excuse me. So now we're going to back loop double again in the next stitch, back loop in the next, and then double around the chain space. Then back loop double in the next, back loop double in the next, and then double around the chain space. Back loop double in the next, back loop double in the next, double around the next chain space. And I'm just going to continue working that along. You can always rewind, pause, whatever you need to do to be sure about what you're doing. So I'm just going to keep working this till I get to the next corner. I'll work one more corner with you, get you started on the next side, and then I will finish mine off camera and meet you back. So, but first, we're almost to this next corner, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so again, the corner stitch is going to be 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles. And then again, I slid my work over so I could expose this one and put a back loop only double crochet in that next stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and finish working up all of this across like we have been. And where my join up is, I actually have a standing double, so that loop is quite smashed now, but I can just barely get to. Let me grab something to mark that with you. This loop right here, that's where I'm going to try and do that. And then I'll do this back loop, and then I'll be working another corner. So I will meet you when I get around to the last little bit here and show you where to join, and then we'll fasten off for the next round. Be right back. All right, I have worked my square to all the way around, just like the pattern is written. Working my back posts and all that, or back loops, excuse me. Now, to finish off, I'm going to work my double in the space there, the chain space, and I'm going to continue to work these back loop doubles. And I did manage to, this is where my join was, and I trapped the yarn too, so it actually worked on the first try. Okay, so here we are back at the first and now last corner, and if you recall, we started it, so now we need to finish it. So we need to do 2 doubles and a chain 2. So 2 doubles, chain 2, and then we'll slip stitch to the top of our first double, or the chain 3 if you did that. And then we're going to fasten off and grab our darkest yarn for round 9. For round 9, it says to start in any chain 2 space, so that would be our corners. So I fasten off here, I kind of like to start over here. So it says to do a standing double and a double, and so we're going to start but not finish a corner again. And then it says to continue working around. So first I'm going to get you going one thing at a time again, right? All right, so pick a corner, insert your hook and pull through a loop with your new color, and work your standing or your chain 3, standing double or a chain 3, and then do another double. Okay, and now it says we're going to do back loop double in each stitch until you reach the next corner, and then you'll put another, what we're doing in the previous round, which was 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles in this chain 2 space. And then you're going to work yourself all the way back around again until you get back to where we started, where we'll put our last 2 doubles and a chain 2 and then join up. So I'm going to get you kind of started. This is pretty much a repeat of that round. So we're going to back post double, make sure you're grabbing this stitch's loop in the next stitch, and then back post in all of these. Now there are no chain spaces to go through, so we're just doing back loop only double crochets all the way down the sides. And then when we get to the corner, we do 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, all in that chain 2 space, and then we start our back loop double crochets again. But I really want to stress that you don't miss that first double after your corner, which is going to be right here. Just don't miss that, because when you work over it, it does kind of smash the 2 loops on the top. That will throw everything off, and your square will be too round. 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles all in the corner. Whoop. And as you can see, I kind of smashed this one's 2 loops. It's not as bad as I normally do, but I am just gonna make sure I grab and go into it for a back loop double. And so I'm going to continue working myself around. Okay, I am back at the end. I have worked myself all the way around, and now I am going to go ahead and finish off this square. So we need to go ahead and finish this corner first. So we have our first 2 doubles, and that's it. So we need to put 2 more doubles and a chain 2 and then join. So I'm going to work 2 doubles in the chain space, and then I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of my first stitch of the round, and then I'm going to fasten off. And at this point, if your square measures 9 by 9, awesome. You can have a grand old time weaving in all that. Oh, lovely, right? So, or if you didn't make your 9 by 9, or if you think you can get it when you block it, stretch it out enough, go ahead and try blocking. If you still can't, you feel like you stretch this out enough, it doesn't change the appearance too much, just do one more round and then try blocking that, because that should bring you enough to where you can block. So after stretching it out, I got 8 1/4. That's too stretchy for me. I will end up doing one more solid round, and that is going to be in the lightest color, because I'm going to continue on with the actual color changing that we have been doing. So, but I am going to stop the video here because this is the pattern as it is written. I'm just giving you suggestions for how to make it work as far as hook size or continuing on, however you want to do it. Because I worked it all up in the hook recommended, I'm not going to frog all that. I'm just going to add a round in the cream, my lightest color, the next one in the series of color changes. And then I'm going to weave in all my ends and block it. And that will be the end of the sole square. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.